Inland Sports.
And now join us here on the Inland Sports Show. He is the head coach of the Corona Girls Wrestling team, coming off a couple tournament titles, Queen of the Hill, the Top Cat at Rev. It is head coach Jimmie Bowers, the one and only. Coach, why is this taking so long to get you on the Inland Sports Show, man? You were way past due to get on the show.
Well, you know what? I was thinking the same thing. But you know what? We're pretty humble around here. You know what I mean? Bottom line is we just stay on the grind. This is a blue-collar sport, man, and I love it. And we just stay on the grind. It's always good to get the accolades here and there. And we've been in the press enterprise a lot since, probably for the last 10 or the 15 years I've been coaching. But you know what? Like I said, man, no matter what, we know we get recognized, even in silence, Like I always say, I tell my kids, and I'm sure you hear it from a lot of successful coaches, but it's lonely at the top, and people are trying to take you down. And I can appreciate that. I take it personally because there's some teams back in the day that I was chasing. When I first put my team together, when the girls first got sanctioned, and I was like, man, I want to be them. I want to beat them. And there was a couple of them. And now we beat them, and of course they're still competitive, but I'm just trying to keep us successful. And let me explain that when I say successful, I don't define it by the wins, right? The wins will come if they put in the work. I'm talking about getting kids to college, right? Having them be proud of themselves and doing great by themselves and turning the corner. Because I can tell you some stories, man, of these kids that that they didn't think they were going to do anything until they joined wrestling, and next thing you know, they're like, "Where was this all my life?" Well, but it's not like other sports, where they grow up doing it. It's very seldom that happens.
Well, Coach, there's so much I want to ask you, but let me piggyback off what you just said, and I've said this to several wrestling coaches that the wrestling kids, boys and girls, they're some of the greatest student athletes I've ever come across. They're always, the ASB president. They got straight A's. They're involved in their community or their church. Like, they're just great kids. What do you think it is about the sport of wrestling that just kind of grooms great people? I mean, they're going to be future leaders. They're going to be great adults.
You know what? It's discipline. It's a disciplined sport. Like what I drive in our team here is discipline, integrity, responsibility, accountability. Those are all big time traits for this particular sport that's not forgiving. You have to take those personally if you want to be successful. And you're right. It creates great human beings, employers. And I was in the corporate world for 25 years, and I wanted to hire wrestlers, because I knew that they were punished every day at practice. They understood the grind, but they kept coming back, and that shows one thing right there, where they keep coming back no matter how hard it is, because they had a bigger goal, and that was just to finish, right? If they go and start something and they want to finish, they're going to be just successful in life, no matter what they do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Coach, let me ask you about this season so far. And I know the Top Cat at Rev was just this past week, I think past Friday, but the weekend before, the Queen of the Hill, if there's a casual wrestling fan out there and they're watching this interview, how would you kind of describe how big, how important, how competitive the Queen of the Hill tournament is?
Well, I will tell you this. This is my baby, by the way. I built Queen of the Hill 10 years ago, actually 11 years ago, minus the COVID year. And everybody who's somebody shows up to this tournament that's trying to make a name for themselves to be ranked in the state. And not just in the state. We had the number one team in Arizona, Sunnyside High School, show up. We had the number one team in Nevada, Centennial High School, show up. Girls ranked top 10 in the country, a couple of number one ranked girls in the country, 157 state placers. And what I mean by that, by state, means California, for example. There's a lot of states that have multiple state champions, right? And multiple state placers in different divisions. California is one of the few states that only has one legit state champion, one legit second place finisher, all the way to top 8. So The Queen of the Hill is where it has to be. And I'm not just saying it because it's my tournament, but it's the kids and the teams that come to our tournament that make it a great tournament. I just make sure that it's a safe place, it's a competitive place, and everybody who's somebody has a good experience. And because of that, it's grown tremendously. I've outgrown every venue that we had, so we're working on some big things right now. For the people that outside that just come by or just see this on a video or something, and then they see how packed it was. We had 902 wrestlers from representing 134 schools. It's just, I take pride in that. And like I said, it's a testament of what me and my staff and my wrestlers, because my boys actually helped me run the tournament. And my girls wrestle in it. And then my parents and my staff basically, make sure everything is dressed, so to speak. So, I take pride. We got guys, coaches, well-known coaches, posting on social media saying, man, Queen of the Hill is where it's at, man. And we're compared to other big tournaments where they have 800 some girls, 600 some girls. And again, it's not really about the numbers, but the numbers were big because the caliber of wrestlers was tremendous.
And speaking of the caliber of wrestler, I mean, is this the closest thing? You mentioned there's some great wrestlers came from out of state, but is this the closest thing that we would see to the CIF state meet in terms of competition caliber?
Yeah. Absolutely. They just said this is a bigger version of the state meet because in the state meet, for the girls at least, it's the top 32 in the state compete, right? Here, there's 64 girls in each weight class. So yes, and coaches have told me, man, that are on the state advisory board, man, this is like state. If you want to try to beat some top kids, this is where you need to go. So, and it holds a lot of weight, fortunately, when they place in our tournament, when they go to state rankings and state seeds, they see where they landed. As far as one of the tournaments are concerned, they see where they landed in the Queen of the Hill.
All right, Coach. So with that said, you guys were the team champions at Queen of the Hill. Yes. I know you're three-time CIF champions, but the state title, is that something that you feel like, man, if the school could bring home one of those, that would be amazing? Man,
you know what? You took the words out of my mouth. And as a matter of fact, a couple of my friends that are also my colleagues brought that up at our Queen of the Hill. The Queen of the Hill, let's go back to that real quick. That was the hardest first place finish for us we've ever had. My team is very young, but they've been training a while and they're finally in high school where they can compete. And it was a team effort. We're well-rounded pretty much from top to bottom. But a couple of my colleagues, it was kind of a joke, like, hey, man, how come at the state meet, you're not winning state, you're winning CIF, you're winning every tournament that's coming around. And I said, you know what, the kids put a lot of pressure on themselves. I try not to instill too much pressure on them, but because they care so much about our program and what they're trying to do to represent the C on their chest, that sometimes, they break. And it breaks my heart, man, but I couldn't be more proud of them. I just try to reiterate to them and remind them that, hey, you guys are already champions, man. You're part of an elite organization here. Just go out there and just scrap. And we almost won it one year. We came in second in 2017 behind a northern team, Selma, which had a really good squad as well. And we were tied after day one, of state. And, then we came back in second. But we were ranked top 5 many years in a row. But we always have your lull years, which I'm okay with. But we do what we have to do. Like I said, CIF is still a big thing, even though, we want to win a state title. But CIF championships, especially in the Southern section, is no joke. You're still beating really good teams. But yes, that is my hopes. I'm tired of being the what do they say? The maid of honor. I want to be the bride, man. I'm ready to be number one, but that's going to take time. And I'll be honest with you, this squad that we have right now, and I've had some really good squads in the past. I truly believe in the next couple of years that we'll be right there in ranking, shooting for the top 2 at least.
Coach, not too long ago, I covered wrestling in the Central section. You mentioned the Southern section. Right now, in just terms of girls wrestling, specifically girls, do you feel like the Southern section's just as tough as the Central section? You mentioned Selma was a state champion in 2017 when you were in the hunt for one. But do you feel like the Southern section is comparable to the Central section, better, about the same?
No, I think, and I'm not saying this because I'm biased, and I'm not saying it because I'm Southern section. Central section got a lot of love because they had those big hitters at that particular time. Now, it's not really like that. Southern section's deep. We get a lot of kids to state, and we get a lot of kids at place. We're the highest percentage of state placers at the state tournament. And I believe that they're pretty close to either first or second on the boys' side as well. But yeah, we got big hitters, man, that represent the Southern section. And yeah, they're not taking anything away from the Central or any other section because they're all respectively good. But I truly believe that, yes, if we're not the same, we're a little bit better. But like I said, they got little onesie twosies out there that are nails, and again, I can appreciate the fact that they respect our tournament enough to come down and wrestle with some of the best girls and still show out, on there. So, but yeah, I think there's been years that we're just equally as tough, just different numbers because we got a lot more girls. They're like, for us, we got to go through a CI qualifier to a master's qualifier in our section. A lot of them don't have to do that. We get 32 qualifiers to top 8, and they just go top 8 initially, or top 6 or top 5 or whatever it is. So that's where kind of, some can say it's kind of apples and oranges too. So I don't want to discredit them in any way because, like I said, they still got those nails, man. Those 1 and 2s that are making it to the state, they're doing some damage.
Coach, girls wrestling in general, correct me if I'm wrong, I just feel like the sport is exploding right now. And you've been at it for a while. You've seen a lot of girls out on scholarship, which is awesome to get your education paid for. So there's opportunities out there for girls wrestlers. Here we are in 2024. Do you feel like the sport is just still trending up and the opportunities continue to open up for girls that maybe want to wrestle at the next level?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially now that, D1 schools are on board, and NCAA is making it happen, before it was just private schools, right? But I will tell you this, when girls CIF sanctioned girls wrestling, okay, and me, I've been coaching 34 years, man. I coached boys most of the time, and every time I had girls, there was 1 or 2 here on my team, and they had to wrestle boys, Yeah. But I will tell you this, man, that there was a downward trend on boys wrestling because kids, they're just different now. They're like, oh, man, I don't want to wear that leotard. They didn't know it was called a singlet, right? They call it a leotard or yoga, whatever they thought it was. So a lot of kids didn't want to participate. So they started changing the uniform, right? You got an option. You can wear a doublet now. But it was still trending down. And then when girls got sanctioned, and girls were wrestling, mind you, before they got sanctioned, but, we weren't getting all the official love, but once girls got sanctioned, man, I started my team. I had 8 girls. Next year I had 22 girls. And I'll tell you right now that, and I truly believe this, and I've talked to many coaches, they agree with me, girls wrestling saved wrestling in general. Now we have our Olympic medalists, right? It's increased. I'm going to say by the time they sanction it to now, probably over 500% as far as participation is concerned. So I'll give another example. During COVID, right? How such warriors these girls are. And I'll speak on behalf of my team. I had 80 kids on my team, right? COVID hit right after state championships came back. All my boys quit except one. I had 1 boy. I had 30 girls still. And that year we won the CIF title just on duels. We couldn't compete in tournaments, because of all the COVID regulations. But that was just telling, man, these girls have a chip on their shoulder. Like, no, man, we broke the mold on this sport. and we're sticking with it. We're not bowing down on it. So yeah, it truly saved wrestling, man. And I'm so glad they did it, and I'm glad that there's other sports that girls wouldn't normally play, like even flag football, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure you know, but I won the championship in girls flag football too, and this was our first year, and we ended up being ranked number 1 in the Inland Empire in our first year. But these are girls, like I said, that want to do a sport that wasn't common for young ladies, and now it is. And man, it's just awesome. But so yeah, as far as wrestling is concerned, it's blown up and it's still growing, absolutely. And I think it's helping on the boys' side, and the boys, the numbers are going up again as well.
Coach, for the girls, when you get them as freshmen, do you find that they have any wrestling experience, or maybe they had a sibling, a brother, maybe a dad who wrestled way back in the day and kind of pushed them in that direction? I mean, what's their experience or background when you first get them?
I'm glad you asked that, because we've been pretty successful up until the last 4 years without training anybody before high school, right? All my kids were started at high school or afterwards. And because we started building our program and we were successful, we haven't won any CIF titles, mind you. We've just been winning tournaments, making the state championships. All of a sudden, kids started coming in and transferring to us, right? So remember what I said earlier, like it's lonely at the top, right? Coaches were bitter. Like, hey, man, he's recruiting. Okay, I get the success of your program recruits itself.
Yeah.
Let me look at Centennial, right? Centennial football. They called us the Centennial football of girls wrestling. And
that's a compliment. That's a great compliment.
Yeah, it was a big compliment. So I was like, and my younger brother used to say, if you build it, they will come, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we did. And we built it, and they came. And again, these are kids that just wrestled from freshmen. And they were getting on the state podiums, and they didn't know what this was about. They just know sometimes they felt like they lost the match and they won because they don't know what's going on. They don't pay attention to the score. They don't pay attention to the time. They just wait for it to be over, and then they get their hand raised. And they're like, wow, I just thought I got my butt kicked. But then they raised my hand. So, yeah, man, it's just, I take this sport personal because, we beat the odds, right? And I'm so glad that my girls, now that we're starting to train middle schoolers now, right? We brought our kids club back, which we hadn't had in such a long time. But I was like, man, all these other schools are doing kids clubs, and they're granted they haven't, knock on wood, they haven't beat us, but they're getting more competitive and it's getting more stressed out. If I had any hair, I'd probably lose it all over again. And that's how stressed I was. But so then we got to the middle school, started kids club. And now I'm getting those kids in. Like I said, my team is young. I got 5 freshmen that broke my starting lineup this year, and that's rare that freshmen even get to see. It's really freshmen or sophomores on my team, at least.
Yeah,
get to see the varsity lineup. But I have 5 freshmen that beat out girls, and 2 of them beat out seniors.
So, Coach, I want to wrap it up like this. You mentioned so many young wrestlers cracking that varsity lineup. That, I mean, you guys are really good this year, but you said, like, hey, if not this year, the next couple of years, you guys are going to be super competitive in terms of, making some noise at the CIF state meet. Do you feel like the next couple of years could be pretty special for Corona girls wrestling?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I'm going to try to stay humble about it too, because I don't want my girls to put pressure on themselves. As it is, they put pressure on themselves this year because we've already won 5 tournaments, right? We won 5 tournaments. The Rev one wasn't really that big. It was a 1 day, but we went to Walnut. Yeah, I'll give them their plug. Those are my friends over there. We went to Walnut. This is a good starter tournament, 2-day tournament. We won that one. We won Modern Day. Of course, Queen of the Hill was the largest one. And then, of course, Rev and a couple others. So, I definitely see big things this year, because they haven't even hit their full potential. My freshmen that are wrestling right now, they're probably wrestling at 50% skill level. Wow. And they're winning. So I just told them, man, just keep doing what you're doing. And we still got time to fine tune it, right? For the end of January, which is league finals. And that's where the postseason starts, actually January 27th, the CIF duels competition, wow. Right? We've been in the CIF duels finals 3 years in a row. So we're hoping we can repeat and hopefully bring home a couple more championships.
Well, Coach, you were the man. Listen, I was hoping to keep you on for at least 10 minutes, but this was too good. We went into overtime here, so I really appreciate the time. This is long overdue, and if you guys end up having this great season, I'd love to have you back on the show with some of your wrestlers. Maybe even get you guys actually in our studio and do something with that too, because I'm a big fan of girls wrestling as well, and obviously you're doing big things, and this is, like I said, long overdue to get you on the show. So I really appreciate your time, Coach.
And I appreciate you too, man. I got excited. Like I said, I was like, that's why when you texted, I was like, to the old honor. I was surprised. I was like, what? We're hitting it big time now. Let's go. So, and I told my girls, I was literally telling them, because I don't ever leave practice. And I said, I got to get on a call. Where are you going? Like I was up to something. So I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate, you give us some airtime. And I tell you, man, you know what? I might be their leader, but the girls are the ones that actually do the work, and they're the ones that make me proud and make this district proud. The CNUSD and Corona, they're the ones that really do everything that we can to keep us on the map.
Well, you guys are doing a good job. Whatever that recipe is, keep it up, because it's working right now. That is Jimmie Bowers. He is the head coach of the Corona girls wrestling team here on the Inland Sports Show. Thanks again, Coach.
You got it, man. Appreciate it.